Listen, you see when they inserted the dye, my life flashed before my eyes. I don't call that pressure. I call that excruciating pain. I could not even be quiet. I was literally begging them to stop. Walk on YouTube. It's Naline, your Jamaican scholar, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about my HSG experience. Now, if you are suffering with PCOS and you plan to get pregnant or you're trying to get pregnant, it is possible that your doctor might recommend that you do a HSG. So I decided that I'm going to share my story, my experience, so that hopefully you don't have the same experience that I do. HSG is actually short for hysterosalpingogram, and this is a procedure that is used to check for the health of your uterus, particularly your fallopian tube. It basically involves inserting a solution that has a dye in it through the tubes and into the uterus, and then taking an x-ray of that area, and the dye helps to kind of illuminate the area so that you can see if there are any blockages, right? No, this procedure is normally done in some kind of radiology / x-ray type facility, because again an x-ray is involved and it's normally performed by a professional like a radiologist. All right, so I did the HSG early last year, about February, as I was trying to get pregnant, and my gynecologist recommended that I do it because I wanted to get pregnant in that particular year. Most persons, when they are going to do the HSG, you don't just do it right like that. You normally, after trying for some time and not getting pregnant, that's when your doctors normally recommend that you do it. But since I already had history with PCOS, etc., my gynae wanted to make sure that everything was okay, as I was at the beginning of that trying process. HSG is not covered by insurance in Jamaica, so you have to pay out of pocket, and it's done in private facilities, so that's going to make it even a little bit more expensive, but it's not prohibitively so, to be honest. It's fairly affordable but not cheap. All right. When it comes to my experience, all right, so I got a request form from my gynae, and when I called the facility, they told me that I have to call back on the first day of my period, because it has to happen within the first 8 days, I think, of your cycle. So I called on the first day, and they scheduled a date, and they sent me some instructions, which included taking an enema about an hour or two before the procedure. Also, eating light in the morning, but your stomach was supposed to be mostly empty, so clear liquids, that type of thing. And of course, bringing along painkillers. Now, I hadn't done my own research on the procedure because it was a busy time. My doctor hadn't made it seem like it was any big deal. She didn't explain what it was, or she didn't say, you know, prescribe painkillers or anything like that. So I thought, you know, it's a test just like an ultrasound, a pelvic ultrasound, some discomfort, but, you know, doable. That's the mindset that I had. That's the thought process that I had. So much so that I didn't even mention it to any of my friends to ask them if they had done it before and what their experience was. But when I went in for the procedure, I actually, just to set the stage, I am a university lecturer. I worked that morning and I left work to go do the procedure, drove myself there, and with the intention of going back to work in the evening because I had some classes that I had to teach at 6 p.m. So I scheduled the procedure for the afternoon, went and taught my classes in the morning, drove home, did the enema, and then drove to the facility with the intention of probably going home for a short while, but then heading back to the office. So then I got there, and they called me back into the room to do the procedure. and I was asked if I had taken the painkillers. I was like, no, the instruction says bring the painkillers. So they're like, okay, go ahead and take the painkillers, which I did, and they asked me to undress and get up on the x-ray table. The person at the facility asked me what I knew about the HSG. I told her I didn't really know anything. What I heard about the procedure, nothing. She said, good. Now, I thought that was strange, but I'm like, well, I'm here already. Whatever she means, I mean, it can't be helped at this point. Got up on the table. She explained that the first part of the procedure was similar to a pap smear, and so, you know, I had to put your legs up in the stirrup and all of that. The only difference was that there was some cleaning solution that was inserted to clean up there. I couldn't tell you where they clean, but inside, right? See, I'm pointing up inside the clean. All right. And after the cleaning, they told me that they were going to insert the dye. It could be uncomfortable, but it's for a short period of time, like a minute or so. Listen, you see, when they inserted the dye, my life flashed before my eyes. I don't call that pressure. I call that excruciating pain. I could not even be quiet. I was literally begging them to stop because it hurt so much. Sweat broke out on my body. I couldn't keep still. It was literally traumatic. I was crying tears by the time they finished, right? They carried on. They finished their procedure. I guess they have to. And when I was finished, the radiologist, and I should point out that both the nurse and the radiologist that were in the room were both women. So I'm sure they have seen it countless times. They know what people can feel. When I was finished, the person said to me, the radiologist said, "You're dead?" I didn't find it funny because I was, of course, on that table in tears. She left. The nurse was like, you know, when you're ready, you can get up and go. We will the radiologist had told me at the point that she, you know, there weren't any blockages, and the nurse told me that they would send the results to my gynae. But I lay there on the table by myself in the room, cried. I was still in pain because even though that intensity had decreased, then there was this cramping, there was some bleeding as well. And I got up, I got dressed. I mean, so there was a discomfort, and then there was the hurt, the emotional trauma, not just from the procedure, but from the way that the practitioners in the space treated me or regarded my pain as if it was nothing. I left, went into the parking lot. I had to sit in my car for a while because, again, I was shaking. I was sweating profusely, and I had dried my tears, but got into the car, cried some more. And I was wondering if I'd be able to drive myself home. But guess what? I hadn't called anyone, and not just that, but I had my car. So I thought to myself, I have to drive myself to home because I can't leave the car there because this was private property. I, you know, called my husband on the phone, and I said to him, you know, this is what happened. In a lot of pain, but you know what, I would like for you to stay with me on the phone just in case. And he was like, okay. So, you know, I took my time and I drove myself home. Remember, I had intentions of going back to work. I had to call and let my colleagues know that to, you know, postpone my class, to let the students know, if you can reach them in time, that I wouldn't be coming. And I think I called off from work the following day as well because I was still in pain, and I literally just went into my bed and stayed there for the rest of the day. It was not a pleasant experience. Could it have been better? Definitely. Some of it my fault. I didn't do any research on the procedure, but I also thought my doctor would have explained more what the procedure was about if she expected that there could have been pain. and also that she would have prescribed painkillers. I was so shaken by the experience that I literally had to go online to see if what happened to me was unique, because I'm like, you mean that people don't talk about this stuff? And it was, when I read, I realized, one, other facilities tell you take painkillers before you come. Other facilities tell you bring someone with you to take you home because you might have pain so much so that you cannot drive, right? It's very common for people to have that experience. I reached out to friends who told me that they did have where their doctors told them to take painkillers before and you know, get somebody to bring them, and that even then they had some discomfort with the procedure. So I was just like, wow. I was really unprepared, and you know, even in that moment, based on that experience, I even considered not going back to that gynecologist, just not even telling her what happened to me or whatever, and just seeing somebody else. I ran into somebody who was a doctor who I went to high school with, who said to me, you know what, go back to her and let her know that this is what happened to you and whatever. And I went back and I told her, and she apologized. She said that she thought she had given me more information and prescribed painkillers. And she also said that she would consider the experience that I had when sending other people to do the procedure, especially when it comes to where they go and take it. I am not sure if there are alternatives in Jamaica, but I know for sure that for me personally, I'm never going back to that place to do anything at all, right? I mean, there must be somewhere else in Jamaica that it can be done if I have to do anything of that nature in Jamaica ever again. If you have to do the HSG, do your research before. Make sure you're prepared. Take painkillers at least an hour before, and make sure it's not just some regular headache pills, because that pain, I'm telling you, it wasn't pretty. And I think for me, to add insult to injury, I felt, you know, kind of traumatized by the fact that my caregivers in that situation, who were women who I expected better of, did not take better care of me, or, you know, after they realized how much discomfort I had, they showed no empathy at all in that situation. If you want to know where it was that I did the procedure, if you're in Jamaica and you're interested in knowing because you have to do the procedure, then certainly send me a message. I'll tell you where, definitely, so that you can know, you know, to explore alternatives if you have to do that procedure. Not as fun a story as I normally tell, not as great as I normally tell, but good things. The HSG showed that I was fine. I suspect that there was probably minor blockage, given the amount of pressure that I felt. That's what you read online, it's a pressure. But clearly that shooting of the dye, because it's a liquid, through the tubes, I guess, cleared it up. One of the things that people say is that some people tend to get pregnant shortly after the HSG, because I guess some opening up that happens during the procedure definitely helps. I don't know if that worked in my favor. I got pregnant maybe 3 months later, so I don't know, but at least I was fine, meaning there were no blockages. But yeah, that experience could have been a lot better. I'm still traumatized by it. Whenever I think about it, I get upset. I feel hurt all over again. And I hope that nobody ever has an experience like the one that I had. Alright, so that's it for today's video. I would love to encourage you to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. For some strange reason, women tend not to talk about these things, and you just don't know until you're in the situation what could possibly happen. It's Nelene, your Jamaican scholar, saying walk good, and I'll see you in the next video.